If you want to blow people away as a podcast guest so that you gain business, then you're going to want to watch this video, which is part 3 of a 3-part series on how you can be an awesome podcast guest. Hi, I'm Jeffrey Shaw, business coach for self-employed business owners, host of the Self-Employed Life podcast, and author of the books Lingo and the Self-Employed Life. Now, at the time of this recording, having been a podcast host for more than 7 years and broadcast more than 700 episodes, I've had a lot of experience with guests, so I'm going to give you the inside scoop on how you can blow people away by being an awesome podcast guest. So there are a couple of things you need to understand about podcasting. One is that it is primarily audio-based. Now, it's not to say people might not be hooking into the podcast through a platform like YouTube, but that doesn't mean that they're watching the video. It may just be their platform of choice to listen in. And of course, if they're listening on Apple Podcasts or one of the other podcast apps, it is in fact audio only. That's a key component. Second to that is that podcasting is a passive listening platform. What that means is people are almost always doing something else while they're listening to a podcast, the podcast show that you're a guest on. The reason these two things are important is because you have to alter the way you speak and what you offer in order to be memorable and to get through. First tip to be an awesome podcast guest. Of course, shut off all your electronic devices. Show up prepared. Don't rush in at the last minute and be out of breath. Respect the medium. The host has gone through great trouble and probably great expense to build this platform for which you are going to appear on. Respect it as such. Okay, so show up prepared, ready to go. It is yet another professional appointment. Show up that way. Secondly, this is important for you, not just the host. The second one is stay on brand. You're giving your time to be a guest on the show. You're wanting to attract business. Stay on your own brand. Reiterate your core topic over and over again. Don't feel like you're being too repetitive, because to you, you might feel like you're saying the same thing over and over again. But to the listener, this is new content for them. So for example, my friend Leslie M., she wrote the book Swagger, and there's a review of Swagger here on my channel as well. Now, imagine if Leslie was on a podcast show and instead of using the word swagger, she was using the word badass or some other term. It would be off brand. Of course, Leslie's really good at this and she would never do that. But if you have coined your own phrases, use them. Stay on brand. Let it sink in. Again, it's a passive listening platform. So people are doing something else. You almost can't say it too many times before it sinks in. Which brings me to my next point, which is to be prepared with memorable sound bites and mic drop moments. Okay, so this is really important because you want to have those memorable quotes, those mic drop moments, those downbeats that when someone's listening, it just stops them from what they're doing, or it becomes something really memorable, something they can easily recite in their own mind, or maybe even recite to someone else, talking about your appearance on that podcast. That endears you to the person and makes it far more likely they will remember you and share you with somebody else. So sound bites, mic drop moments, be prepared for them. Right? Think about it ahead of time. Write them out. Speaking of which, don't ever be afraid as a podcast guest to have notes in front of you, preferably in electronic form or Post-it notes, so that you're not shuffling papers, because that likely will come across on the mic. But don't hesitate to prepare yourself, because your mind can go blank and you don't want that to happen. So prepare yourself. Lastly, have a gift or a giveaway or a lead magnet of some kind. This is where you're really serving yourself. Have something to give away that provides a taste of your value. All right? You don't have to look at it as a lead magnet, as a hook, but look at it as what would be an extension of the conversation that would serve the audience so that they can get a better sense of who you are and a taste of your value. And Have a simple domain name that redirects to that free offer. Again, audio only. Don't make it a hard URL to remember. Chances are your website domain / is going to be way too much for anybody to remember. Come up with a simple domain that will redirect. You have to keep it super simple for people to remember. Those tips, I believe, will help you be an awesome podcast guest so that podcast guesting as a marketing strategy pays off for you. Be sure to watch the other 2 videos in this series on how to find shows that you should be on and how to pitch yourself, because both are critical before you can even worry about being an awesome podcast guest.